Hello everyone, let's continue our discussion on the general introduction of the basic theories. From the basic theories, from the general introduction, we're going to focus on these three aspects: the introduction to Chinese medicine and acupuncture, the formation and development of the theoretic system of Chinese medicine. Also, at the end, we're going to discuss the key characteristics of the theoretical system of Chinese medicine. What's special in Chinese medicine theories? There are two key characteristics. So after studying the general introduction, you will know all these three. So the first is when we discuss about Chinese medicine and acupuncture, the first thing we need to understand is what is Chinese medicine and acupuncture. So the definition here is traditional Chinese medicine, also known as Chinese medicine and acupuncture, or sometimes they only write as Chinese medicine. It's originated in ancient China. It is a medical science that uses natural science to understand and study human health and disease through integrating multiple knowledge. So from the definition, you will see the abbreviation for Chinese medicine. You can write either TCM, which is quite common nowadays, or you can write CMA, Chinese medicine and acupuncture. From the definition, you will see Chinese medicine is from ancient China, and also the objects we're going to study is human health and diseases. So what we focus on is human health, and it integrates multiple disciplinary knowledge. What does it mean is Chinese medicine is in the category of a natural science, and it integrates social science characteristics. So in our treatments or in our way of thinking how to maintain health, we don't only see from the patient individually. We don't only see you as an individually. When we see you as a person, you also consider your social status, the social environment affects you. The Chinese medicine, especially the theories, also influenced by the ancient philosophy. These we're going to introduce in future in details because this ancient philosophy is our tool to analyze human health and the diseases. It also involves multiple disciplines such as astronomy. Astronomy, as we know from the name, is the study of the space, of the stars in the sky. Why? Besides Chinese medicine include these knowledges. There's one example here is we use yin and yang theories to discuss many kinds of health issues, health matters, and also we discuss how to maintain health, how to adapt to the nature to maintain our health. But where does yin yang come from? Yin refers to the dark side at night. Yang refers to the bright side initially yin yang refers to is the movement of the sun and the earth. So the relationship between the movements between the sun and the earth. In order to understand yin yang well, we need to understand the movements between the sun and the earth. And geography. Geography, when we see a patient, geography also very important. The reason why is where you come from or where you live. The environment is going to affect you, going to affect your body type, your diet, and also our body constitute will be affected by the altitude. For example, someone live in Johannesburg, which is the high ground about 1,700 meters high, or someone live in Cape Town at the sea levels. They might have something different in their body constitute because the climate is different. That's why from the second and the third meteorology and geography, sometimes you can't separate them because the geography difference will affect the meteorology difference. So these are also going to affect us. Someone live in Joburg. The climate is dry or it's drier than Cape Town at the sea levels. So patients from Cape Town may suffer from arthritis more, or patients from Johannesburg may suffer from the lungs problem or from dryness, the pathogen more. That's related to geography. That's also why if a patient comes for our consultation, we need to ask, where are you come from? Where do you live? Or more obvious example is now the transportation become very convenient for everyone. It's very easy for everyone to travel here and there. So sometimes patients from the north, for instance, from British, from Europe, or even from China, from Asia, they just landed and they were sick now. So in our consultation, in our treatments, we also need to think about where they come from, because in the north, the season is opposite to us, while we are in winter, they are in summer. So the climate, the temperature will affect them. That's why we need to focus on these knowledge, meteorology, geography. The knowledge there are included in Chinese medicine, agriculture, biology, agriculture, the herbal medicine, how to keep the herbs, how to keep the species. It's very important to keep the herbal medicine authentic. Also, the agriculture. If the climate changes, you need to understand, or we need to understand how the climate change will affect the agriculture, will affect our food. Then we can prevent we can have some measurements to prevent certain diseases. That's from So all these words include multiple knowledges. We just give you very simple examples. Phytologists, mineralogists, these are also related to the materia rhizomatica, related to the minerals, related to the herbs. Military science, this is very tricky. We are studying in medicine. We study in human health and diseases. What's the relationship for military science? Why we need to understand some knowledge of the military science? When we study the theories of the onset of the pathogens in Chinese medicine and in acupuncture theories, we always think about the disease is an enemy. Your immune system, your qi, your healthy qi, is your army. So the disease is similar to the fight, the battle between the pathogens, which is the enemy, and your healthy qi, your defensive qi, or make it easier to understand, kind of your immune system. So the fighting between each other. Know how to win the fight, how to win the battle, or how to use the prescription, how to use the herbal medicine, how to use the acupuncture to help your army to fight for the enemy. That's the knowledge in military science. Mathematics, winemaking technique. Wine is one of the most important vehicle for to process herbs, or as a vehicle for herbal medicine preparation. Also a vehicle to also a kind of wine itself is also a kind of medicine to improve the circulation. So when we study the history, we introduce the wine at a very early stage, and we gave you the function of the wine for anesthetics, for improving the circulation, to warm the body, to disinfect. So these are all the techniques from wine, all the important aspects for the decoction. The last one is metallurgical technique. It's also very tricky. Chinese medicine, we use herbal medicine a lot. We use nature stuff a lot. What does matter to the methodological techniques? When we introduce the history, we said that the methodological technique is actually the ancestor of modern pharmaceutical chemistry. That's also from Chinese medicine. And in our herbal medicine, in our materia medica, it not only refers to herbs, there are also some chemicals, some minerals. That's the how to purify them, how to use them. That's the knowledge in this field. Just to mention some of these knowledge, then you will understand that Chinese medicine actually involves a lot of information, a lot of knowledge in different disciplines, in different fields of the knowledge. So as we study Chinese medicine, as we study acupuncture, you will understand some of the knowledge there. You're going to integrate them into the holism. You're going to use them as a whole. You don't separate them actually. Chinese medicine is quite an old medicine. As we said in the previous lecture, it says Chinese medicine at least has 2,500 years history with records. That's because our information, our knowledge we gain to study is from Huangdi Neijing, which was 2,500 years ago. So with records of 2,000 years, without records even longer. When we discuss the history, we started from millions of years ago. And as in traditional medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, in the world, there's also many other traditional medicine. In Europe, they also have traditional medicine. In India, they also have Indian medicine, which is also very old. Specifically, in Africa, we also have a lot of African medicine, which is also very old. One of the most important aspects, one of the most important difference between those traditional medicine and Chinese medicine and acupuncture. This is one of the most important aspects is in Chinese medicine, there's no religion, so nothing before life. But when we discuss the history, we have mentioned that the Chinese culture, the Chinese history, the Chinese people, same as the people in other parts of the world, especially in the past, people wanted to understand where we come from, where the earth come from, where the planets come from. You see, sometimes we introduce these funny stories or these funny legends. The first one, 女娲. So here because this information we're going to discuss more in details in the history, we just give you a very brief introduction here. Where human come from? Where human come from? There's many stories in the history. Yu Wa is one of the lady, a very beautiful lady with snake tails. So she's not a human being, or at least not a normal human being. She used the yellow mud to make human. That's where human come from. The second picture on the left corner, you can see is a picture of the Taoism. These guys, it's quite a funny guy. All what they study, all what they do, these guys, they don't want to die. They want to be longevity. They want to live forever. In their theories, they think a human being is come from Qi gallery. Different Qi, the clear Qi, when they gather together, they become human being. The crowded Qi, when they gather together, they become the worms. So that's where the human come from. The first from the snake lady, The second from Qi Gallery. There are also many religions in the world. From the Christian, people believe that human being is from the God. From the Buddhism, people believe that our human being is from the previous life. Once you died, you go to the next life. And also sometimes there's also many people they says we are science. We believe in science. We don't believe all these funny story you talk about. We believe the evolution. Human being is from evolution from the animal. Use a scientific way to explain where human come from. There's also some other religions, but I'm not very familiar with. So we did not discuss here. That means there's only these 4 or 5 sources where human come from. So here become quite confusing. Where human come from? I give you 5 examples here. They all have their theories. So if someone they believe in Muslim, or someone that believe in Christian, or someone believe in Buddhism, or even someone as the second picture on the left corner, they believe in Taoism. They think people is coming from Qi Gallery. There were so many schools arguing where human come from. So are you worried about when you study Chinese medicine, when you study acupuncture? If you have to face these arguments, can you study something from East? So that's why we introduce here. Before life, you can see from the timelines, and after death, where Chinese medicine and acupuncture focus on, we only focus on human health and diseases. So for human health and diseases, we do not focus on anything before life. We do not focus on anything after death. So no matter what you believe in, no matter what you think, where we come from, either from the lady or from Qi, or from the previous lives, or from the God, from evolution, doesn't matter. We don't care about that. Those arguments we will leave for the philosophers. They need to tell us, they need to think about where we come from, or where we go to after death. But for Chinese medicine and acupuncture, what we focus on is anything in between, our health and diseases in between. So it doesn't matter what you believe in, it won't affect your treatments, it won't affect your belief. And these are that's also why there's no religion there in Chinese medicine, in acupuncture. These theories actually was recorded in Huangdi Neijing in 2,500 years ago. Not only from now, we don't focus on anything religiously or spiritually that were written in Huangdi Neijing. So Chinese medicine, we focus on human health and diseases. The second, begin to introduce a little bit about the formation and the development of the theoretical system of Chinese medicine. Whenever we start the topic, we always start from the history. So some of the information we already have discussed in the history. The theoretic system of Chinese medicine and acupuncture. What does it mean? It includes the therapeutics principles, methods, medicine, or material medical, and prescriptions. We study the basic concepts, principles, and methods of the Chinese medicine and acupuncture. So from the definition, you will see the theoretic system or the theories. What we studied about is the principles, the method, the treatment method, the medicine, and the prescription. So, and the relationship between among these four aspects. That's the theoretic system. There are some characteristics of this theoretic system. The holistic concepts as the main ideology, the theories of essence, yin and yang, and the five elements at the philosophy basis. 脏腑 organs, meridian, essence, qi, and blood, body fluids, as physiological and pathological basis. Syndrome differentiation, or sometimes they translate as the pattern differentiations. So in future, when we study the diagnostics, we also use the pattern differentiation, and tumor variation. So these two are the very typical aspects in Chinese medicine and acupuncture. We're going to introduce all of them in details, and you're going to understand, you're going to use them in your future practice. The philosophical basis. These are the Asian philosophies we're going to study. So where they come from? The first is the four classics. When we discuss the history, we said the four classics represents the establishment of the formation of Chinese medicine and acupuncture. The four classic, just most of you should still understand and still remember, which are 黄帝内经、难经、成龙本草经、伤寒杂病论. So these four classics represents the establishment of the theoretic system. All the theories come from these four books. So how does these theories be discovered, or how did the Asian people to understand the philosophies, the theories? The first method is observation. The observation includes direct observation and comprehensive observation. What does it mean by direct observation is actually they observe the human body directly. So in 黄帝内经, it described that after a person passes away, the corpse can be examined. We can open the corpse to see what's inside there, what's the size, what's the volume of each organs, what's the weight of each organs, and what's the function from there. So from 黄帝内经, we actually recorded the size of the stomach, the length of the intestines, what's the ratios between the esophagus and the intestine, and what's the function, what's stored in the heart, in the vessels. All these knowledges from anatomy is from the direct observation written in 2,500 years ago. So these, although in our theories, in Chinese medicine, we discuss a lot about philosophies, the theories, our human body is actually based on the anatomy. There's once I asked the students to write an assignment for me for the theoretic system of Chinese medicine. There's one of the group, they write that in Chinese medicine, in acupuncture, we don't see human body as a human body. So when I read out the full sentence, everyone bursts into laugh. And also quite confusing. When they said, I asked, if we don't see human body as a human body, what do we see human body as a medical science? So don't make it wrong. Although Chinese medicine and acupuncture we focus on philosophy more, we also based on anatomy. The anatomy is not even from now. We based on the anatomy from 黄帝内经, from the four classics, which were 2,500 years ago. So for hundreds of years, for thousands of years, we focus on the anatomy, although we also focus on the other aspects, qi, blood, meridians. These are something you can't see, but something you can't see, how do you know they're there? Sometimes I will ask the students, especially if we online, so I can't ask you questions actually. But in the class, sometimes I ask them, if you don't see qi, how do you know there's a qi? Or how can you believe, how can you trust me if I told you there's a qi? But if you don't see, how do you know there's something I say is right? Or can you believe something you can't see? If there's a question like this, students always confusing, but if something you can't see means there's nothing there. It doesn't have to be so. For instance, I will ask them, do you see the wind? I think most of you, or actually all of us, we don't see the wind. But do you believe there's a wind? Why you believe? It's because you see, when you see the leaves of the trees waving, now you will know there's wind. Or when you can feel the wind, you will know there's wind. So although you don't see, but you can see other phenomena reflect the wind. That's very similar to qi. Qi. We don't see the qi, but how do you know the qi? Qi is another word or the translation in Mandarin. Qi can represent the air, the breathing. As we breathe in and out, the qi is traveling in and out. The qi is traveling downwards and outwards, inwards and outwards. So these are the movements of qi. So don't be confused of the name of the title, what they are, but the movements you need to understand. That's the observation integrate the philosophy. And also sometimes for meridian also the meridians are even more comprehensive. For decades, there's many practitioners in China, actually all over the world, they try to understand what are meridian exactly. But until now, there's no perfect explanation to meridian. But how do we know there's a meridian? In some conditions, some very sensitive patient, you put when you perform acupuncture on them, they can feel they can feel some sensation traveling from one area to the other area. That's the pathways where the sensation travels is along the meridian. That's how we know, how we understand the meridian. Also, as the knowledge accumulated, people understand what's the relationship between the seasons, the climate changes, and human health. So as you can see from the formation of the theoretical system, how does these theories establish? It's actually from the experience, either from our daily life experience or from the philosophy experience, the accumulation of the experience. That's the formation of the theoretic system from the experience of our human life. So today we're going to stop here. In the next class, we're going to discuss the four classics in details.